Hi guys, thanks for tuning into my channel and for watching another episode of Conversations with Diana, where I interview real people who have real stories, who are pursuing their passions in order to make a difference in the world. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like, share, and enable that notification button so you don't miss an episode. And for those of you who wish to be a sponsor for our upcoming episodes, feel free to email me at info@dianamyrie.com. That's info@dianamyrie.com. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Diana. On today's episode, I have the distinct pleasure of interviewing none other than Crystal DeCuna. Crystal is the Chief Experience Officer at the Inside View Inc. She's a keynote speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and award-winning customer experience expert who is leading the Canadian landscape in the specialized field of customer experience. Crystal has received accreditations through leading-edge organizations, including John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, the Ritz Carlton, Canfield, and the world-renowned Disney Institute, where she received certification on leadership and business excellence, quality service, and employee engagement. She has over 22 years of accomplishments in retail, construction, nonprofit, hospitality, and e-commerce industries. Crystal attended both York University and Brock University with a focus on business and corporate communications. She's a certified leadership coach and a certified international keynote speaker, a unique designation held by less than 12% of professional speakers. Crystal contributes to her industry by serving on several boards, including Grow Your Biz and Customer Experience Week Canada, as well as being a chair of the YWCA Capital Campaign in Niagara. The role she's most proud of is being a football mom to her dear beloved son, Zariq. Hi, Crystal. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure having you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jan. I've been looking forward to this.
So have I. Can you tell our viewers a bit about yourself and your background?
Absolutely. I'm an independent mom here in the Niagara region. I'm born and raised Canadian. I'm East Indian descent. And about 6 years ago, I dove into my own business. So I'm officially an entrepreneur as well. I love the region that we work in. I'm very passionate about customer experience design and diversity and inclusion. And so that's why I'm here today. Our business focuses around designing customer experiences to really delight both their customers as well as their employees. And so we've been really fortunate that we are actually one of the only customer experience design firms in Canada to be approved by the Canada Ontario Job Grant. So our programs are all recognized by the Government of Ontario. So very proud of the work that we're doing with small businesses in particular, not only here in Niagara, but across the globe, actually. So that's a bit about me, and I'm a proud football mom, for sure.
Definitely. I know based on your posts on social media, I follow you on social media, and you're obviously very proud of your son. And I'm so proud of you for all you've accomplished in your business.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a lot of work. Going independent, it definitely is always a challenge. We've always been pivoting, and especially with our global situation right now, the pivot's bigger now than ever before. But I think one of the things with our organization is our team, we've always been really focused on change. What's part of one of our core values is to constantly be changing. And so, we were really set up in a position to succeed when things came up with the pandemic, and we all had to change at the drop of a dime. So it worked out in our favor to be able to adjust and be agile.
The pandemic has impacted so many individuals and business owners, and it's awesome to hear of a business such as yours that has pivoted into a more successful area in terms of how you serve your customers and the experience. And I want to go into my next question, which is basically, can you describe for us the difference between customer experience and customer service?
Yes, absolutely. I always love that question. And so I think a lot of, especially small businesses, but a lot of the larger businesses have a good understanding of the concept of customer experience design. But in terms of small, medium businesses, we often think of customer service as the same as customer experience. And they're so different in that Customer service is that one-on-one interaction that a business or a person has with their customer. So for example, your vacuum cleaner breaks, you take it to go get service. Your cars needs maintenance, you take it to get service. You buy something on Amazon, you're looking for customer service for help with a product or service. So it's that one-on-one interaction that a company or one of its people has with the customer. So you're servicing, you're responding typically to challenges that they may have. And customer service departments, I always give my hat off to them because they're always dealing with people that, have challenges. Customer experience, though, Diana, is really about how your customer feels at every given touch point when your brand, your company, your product or service is doing business with them. So it's not something that a company can indirectly check a box to say we do customer experience. It's something that a company has to cultivate throughout their organization, as well as the product and service that they're delivering, to be able to create an experience for a customer to lead with. And that feeling, that emotion is what starts to drive the behaviors of that customer, whether it's to be a raving fan or to do business with them again. And that behavior gets us results. That behavior gets us, that loyalty, that retention, that increased business. That's the power of it. So it's really about, cultivating this culture of success within the organization, but then ultimately making sure that customer feels it. And it really should be their pleasure to serve a customer, right? Everybody's pleasure to serve. And it starts with the leadership team. So it's about igniting your leaders, exciting your employees, and delighting your customers, all with that same service mindset. So that's the difference between customer service and customer experience.
Awesome. I'm always on the lookout for businesses that can delight a customer. So you are correct. It is very important to distinguish between the two. So tell me about some of the benefits of customer experience design in organizations.
I like to speak to small businesses because that's really where we focus. We still focus on businesses anywhere from 10 employees up to 100 employees, and we go all the way up to 1,000 employees is needed. That's kind of the space that we operate in. And the benefits to a small business in particular is quite great because they have an opportunity to be agile. They also have an opportunity to ask their customers because their customer base may be smaller. So you're able to get that voice of customer feedback and be agile and implement and action things quite quickly, which can directly impact your bottom line, directly impact, that financial reward within the organization. The other part of it is, I always say for small businesses in particular, you want to be able to look at your first customer is your internal customer. So your employee is your first customer. And if we as small business owners aren't creating environments where that employee feels delighted and that employee has experienced what a wow experience looks like or feels like, and that team, we need for them to be able to feel what that looks like and feel the impact. And that in retrospect allows them the autonomy and the creativity and the intention to create that same experience for their customers. So the impact you can see can be vast because not only does it help to cultivate a culture of success within the organization, but it also helps to retain your top talent, keep your employees happy. We all know the cost of hiring and training new team members, but when you're able to retain them, that's your customer experience, right? Because they're able to be more equipped, more qualified, better educated to be able to serve your customer at their best. So that's just one, increased employee retention. We see increased customer satisfaction. We know that it costs 8 times more to find a new customer than to do business with the ones you have. It costs 8 times more to find a new customer. And so, we want to make sure that we're having that retention rate from a client perspective, that we're able to keep our customers, because 1 or 2 bad experiences, we've all had them, right, Diana? We've all had those challenging experiences where it's like, even though they're great, and then, 1 or 2 challenging experiences can totally, we might not even complain to the organization. We might just not do business with them anymore. And so we want to be able to keep customers because it costs us much more to get new ones.
You're so correct, Crystal. I like what you said. It's an interesting statistic, 8 times more expensive.
Yeah, 8 times more expensive to be able to find new customers.
To be able to
than,
find new
yes,
customers.
right, than to do business with the ones we have, for sure.
Exactly. Can you tell us a bit about the framework that's required to put something like this in place for a small business?
Absolutely. So again, depending on what type of business, what industry, the beauty of customer experience is that it's a business discipline. So just like accounting or marketing or sales or operations, leadership, those are all business discipline. Just like those, customer experience design is a business discipline. And so there's multiple frameworks out there. Our framework is called the 7 Steps to Customer Experience Mastery. And so within those 7 steps, we're able to, identify the gaps. We're able to gather the right data. And often I find small businesses are they think, well, we don't have the data. We know what our customers are thinking. We have a good idea. Our customers are happy. We have a 5-star rating. Well, you have a 5-star rating because the customers that are happy are the ones that are rating you. But the customers that aren't happy tend to not even comment sometimes, right? There's a lot of customers that don't even give you the feedback. They'll just move on. So really important to be able to use, when we use our 7-step program, our 7 keys to customer experience mastery, you're able to identify your vision. You're able to identify the leader's roles in the organization. The leader's roles to inspire and create environments. We talk about the culture, how to design a culture. I'm East Indian. Diane, I know you guys are from the Caribbean, and we have traditions in our culture, and so your organization should have those traditions as well. We talk about designing to delight, which is journey mapping, customer journey mapping. We talk about how to hire and develop top talent. How do you find top talent? And then how do you hire and keep them? We talk about the sales process. So what does the sales process look like? Often sales processes in small, medium businesses are, again, not streamlined. And so we want to make sure that we're creating a process that's designed for business today. And then we end off with coaching confidence, which is where we want to be able to really make sure that we're instilling confidence within our team so that they can instill that same confidence within our customers.
How long does a typical workshop, or if someone wanted to, say, participate in your program, how long does it take?
So it depends on how we work with organizations. Our customer experience mastery program, it's an 8 weeks. It's actually a certification course. So they will receive a certification in customer experience mastery, which is a huge asset as people are developing their career. You learn about the metrics, you learn about accountability, you learn about, agile and design thinking tools that people can implement within organizations. So that course is an 8-week program. But, we also do consulting and creating customer experience strategies for organizations. And in that case, that's something that we customize depending on the size of the organization.
That's great to know. So Crystal, you've said a lot, and it's very important that businesses do recognize the importance of delighting and wowing the customer. In light of the pandemic, can you explain how can small businesses pivot, or how can they keep up, I should say, with the changes that have come about because of all that's happening?
Yeah, such a great question. Who would have thought, Diana, 2 years ago that we would be in this situation that we're all in now, right? And we couldn't have even imagined perhaps doing an interview like this online. And so organizations right now, we've been talking about being agile and going online and being more automated and virtual. We've probably been talking about for the last 3 or 5 years, even before the pandemic. But all of a sudden, we all had to make this massive shift overnight. And we all had to be able to figure out how we can do things, how we can do them safely, and how we can, still keep our teams engaged. And so in our customer experience world, we call it getting ahead of the customer curve. So it's really about understanding what that customer curve is like. And so for organizations that were ahead of this and think the way that we think in terms of understanding that customer curve, we've seen a lot of success in this. They may not have planned this exact thing, but their thinking and their mindset was able to be agile and adaptive right away. And so, we see some businesses that are doing, even some local businesses, we've seen so many, like the distilleries have been, pivoted to make hand sanitizer, and we've seen so many local businesses go on curbside pickup, but then also with the restaurants, doing takeout boxes and celebration boxes. And we've seen businesses get creative. Definitely. Where design thinking and where customer experience design comes in is that you're not doing it when you need to, you're doing it in advance, right? You're doing it in advance so that you're really thinking of that customer journey. And so one of the tools that we use is called customer journey mapping. It's actually a design thinking tool. And customer journey mapping allows us to be able to, based on data, based on feedback, design what the journey of that customer looks like, and then analyze the people, the processes, and most importantly, Diana, the emotions that a customer is having at every touch point with your organization. So for example, a retailer right now, somebody's going online, they're trying to order soil for their garden. They go online, they type in soil, they're trying to find it, and it's too complicated. Everybody's out of stock, or you can't find something. So there's a pain point there. Then they try to go look for the phone number to call, and they can't find the phone number. They have to go 10 pages in. It's like finding it on a government website. You just can't find the phone number, right? And then finally, when you get to the phone number that says, well, we're only open from 9 to 5, and it happens to be 6 o'clock right now. And so nobody can answer the phone. And, 9 to 5, that customer is working. So chances are that customer is not going to call you till after 5. And so then the next day goes, and the next day goes, and the frustration goes, and then they go to another website. And so that's how that customer journey, once you start to analyze and understand and visualize. So journey mapping is a visual tool. We've been doing them virtually. It's really cool. We use all these virtual tools where we can have, Post-it notes in a virtual environment. But once you're able to visualize those moments of truth in the customer journey, that may not cost you time or money. They just mean a minor adjustment to your process that might be able to really impact the way that customer stays and does business with you, is a raving fan of yours, and purchases from you, right? We want to make it easy for people to give us their money. I mean, we don't want to make it complicated. Exactly. We want to make it easy for them. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It certainly does. So I'm just going to shift slightly and I want to know more about how does diversity and inclusion play a role in the customer experience design? Can you talk about that a bit?
Absolutely. So we've been working in the diversity and inclusion space now, as a woman of color for my whole life, but from a training and development perspective for the last 6 years. So when we first started the company, one of our first programs was the diversity and inclusion program. We went live with the program and made it a little bit more virtual, most recently with the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as all the protests throughout the globe when it comes to the George Floyd, tragedy that happened. And so we really wanted to take our old diversity and inclusion program and up-level it. We wanted to make it relevant for the challenges that businesses are facing today. We wanted to make the uncomfortable conversations comfortable, and the connection between customer experience and diversity and inclusion is so powerful, because if you're creating a customer experience, we want to create it for all the people doing business with us, not just that one type of person that we think is doing business with us. Because even though that might be 80% of your market, that one customer, that 20% is not feeling connected to your brand at all, right? That 20% is just not necessarily feeling appreciated, valued, respected. And so diversity and inclusion plays a really big part in customer experience design, because when we're able to look at things differently, we know that diversity and inclusion, when organizations are better positioned to capture they're actually, the statistic is 70% of diverse and inclusive organizations are better positioned to capture new markets, right? So, I mean, who doesn't want new markets in a pandemic world, right? We all want to grow market share. We all want to increase our sales and our customer base. And the easiest way is to start being open-minded, to embrace diversity and inclusion, because you're also getting different perspectives, right? Only an East Indian woman can tell you how an East Indian woman is going to be able to enjoy your product or service, right? And so nobody else will have my perspective, but women like me. Nobody else would have your perspective, but women like yourself. And so I think that's really critical for organizations to start thinking a little bit differently. Somebody in a wheelchair will experience your brand completely different than an athlete would, right? And so there's different ways to look at things.
I totally agree. It makes sense because, as you mentioned, we're living in a global environment, and because of the pandemic, it puts you at a competitive advantage if you're able to embrace everyone or as many people in your customer base as possible. So I do wholeheartedly believe, and I think people are slowly catching on, that they need to become more diverse and inclusive. Tell us a bit more about the benefits, some more benefits that small businesses can experience or have as a result of becoming more diverse and inclusive.
Let's talk a little bit about, there's not a small business out there that I know that is not looking to increase their revenue. And so small businesses see 15 times more revenue than companies that are not diverse. And because there's this racial connection, or not even racial, but there's this connection between, how do I say it? People want to do business with people that are stretching the boundaries, right? People that are being creative and innovative. I mean, look at Apple, right? A great company, their innovation is what drove them to be so successful. And so when you put that diversity and inclusion lens on, organizations that are starting to get innovative with diversity. I mean, even Nike did a phenomenal ad campaign right now on their acceptance and their ability to they're diverse hands down, right? They will not accept anything less. But you see a direct impact in your financial in your revenue, in your bottom line of your organization, if you're able to implement some diversity inclusion strategies. But it can't just be a check mark, Diana. It really has to be a mindset, right? They also say that, I want to say it's 87% of teams that are diverse are better positioned to make quicker decisions. So they're more agile because they have perspectives around the table that are coming from women, people with disabilities, LGBTQ communities. They're having all these different decision makers around the table that they don't have to do the research as much, because they have a seat at the table where they're able to say, okay, wait, our community might look at this product or service this way. So how can we adapt? How can we customize, right? Mm-hmm. So organizations see a direct impact on their bottom line. They also see an impact in their culture, because their teams feel more appreciated and respected, and people want to feel like individuals and valued, right? It's a human need to feel valued. And that's really when we can start to implement diversity and inclusion principles, we start to really see the benefits.
There's so many benefits, Crystal. Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't want to implement a more diverse and inclusive environment? Can you name 2 specific things that a small business owner could do to implement a diverse and inclusive environment?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is to start having those conversations. We need to start making the uncomfortable conversations comfortable. I think there's a lot of fear. I shouldn't say I think. I know, and research shows that there's a lot of fear around approaching diversity and inclusion, because a lot of organizations feel like they might get it wrong. They make a mistake. They don't want to offend anybody. I also see it from communities of color, where communities of color feel like, well, we are diverse and inclusive, but we have a lot to learn as well, right? Communities of color, we have to be able to learn to make sure that we are adapting other nationalities, other genders, other races, other sexual orientations, other socioeconomic backgrounds. So this is not just a one type of person needs to get training or needs to identify it. This is a global challenge. And so I think that's one thing, is we need to start having those uncomfortable conversations. And in our diversity inclusion certification program, we put in like case studies and conversation starters to have at your next meeting that just get the ball rolling a little bit, right? That just, you might spend every meeting that you have, once a month maybe, or once a week, you might incorporate one of these conversation starter questions and allot 20 minutes at the beginning or at the end of your meeting to have that conversation. So number one, I would start having the conversation. Number 2, I would say, is to educate your champions on on the language of diversity and inclusion. So for example, we just had a call yesterday with a huge municipality and it was a really, a municipality throughout Canada, and we had a great conversation with them, and the champions that are leading diversity inclusion within that organization, albeit they're gung-ho and they're ready to start and we're ready to dive in with them, none of those champions, and admittedly, have ever received any type of training or development in diversity and inclusion, yet they're the champions, right? And so they're not educated from an education standpoint, right? They don't have that background. And so I think it's really important to be able to say, okay, that's okay that they don't have the background. It's absolutely okay because they're committed emotionally. Yes. They're committed. So that we appreciate. But we want to make sure that they have the tools that they need to be successful. And so that's what we're working on with them. We're going through a certification program where we are providing their certification. So, I think that's really important is once they go through our certification, now they're going to know the language of diversity and inclusion. What's the difference between equity and equality? What's the difference between, a lot of times LGBTQ plus people don't even necessarily know what they all mean, right? And so these are really important factors that we need to make sure that the people that are championing this in our organization, that they are equipped with the right tools and the knowledge to be able to actually make the change.
Awesome. It starts with a conversation and giving them the resources. So leading me to the final question, how can small businesses that are concerned about the cost of implementing a strategy of diversity and inclusion, where can they go for resources?
Yeah, so whether it's diversity, inclusion, or even customer experience mastery, or even just the customer experience strategies, Diana, I think, there's a lot of resources out there, but I think the number one thing you want to start doing is, committing to the process before even looking for resources. If you get the resources, but you're still not committed, it's not going to implement long sustainable change. So before even looking at resources, I would say you want to make an organizational commitment to the process by starting to have those conversations. But, the Canada Ontario Job Grant I mentioned at the beginning of the show, that is a fantastic resource for our Canadian clients. For our global clients, every country has different resources available, and if not, we work with different grant opportunities in global companies. But for Canada specifically, there's a very short window of time where there is funding available, and so the government of Canada has been phenomenal to be able to offer funding throughout the country that covers up to 80% of the cost of training and development for both customer experience as well as diversity and inclusion. So it's a short application, but organizations that are between 1 and 100 employees, up to 80% of the cost gets covered, and 100 to 300 employees, up to 50% of the cost gets covered. So it's a very especially while we're in a global pandemic, it's a phenomenal opportunity for organizations to get ahead of this curve, right? We don't want to be here 2 years from now. It's hard to believe that the George Floyd incident happened over a year ago now, right? And what have organizations done, especially in Canada, right, to actually action change? Are we still thinking about it?
Yeah.
Or have we actually made some change? And so that's what I would challenge organizations to do is, let's stop thinking about it and talking about it. What's actioned in the last little while?
Thank you so much, Crystal. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show and to hear you talk about such an important topic. And we will drop the link to the grant program that you mentioned. So for persons who are interested, they can check the description under the video for further information. Is there anything else you would like our viewers to know, Crystal?
Oh my gosh. First of all, Diana, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to spend some time with you. Yeah. So, for small businesses in particular, I would love to be able to say, listen, if money or time was no object, what would you do to create a phenomenal experience for your customers? How would you push the boundaries to not just be selling a product or service like your competitors might be doing, but to be able to really create an exceptional experience? How do you create that Disney experience, that magic moment? And the other part of it would be, if you took your product or service right out of the equation, how much would you charge for the experience that you're delivering? What's that value of the experience that you're delivering? Because as small business owners, we really need to start identifying that there is a value to that. And once we can start to craft that and visualize it and understand how important that X factor is, then you'll see it, and you'll definitely be able to see an increase in your bottom line when you get strategic about customer experience design.
Thanks again, Crystal. And how can persons reach out to you? How can they connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you. So www.gettheinsideview.com is our website. All of our contact information is on there. We are all over LinkedIn as well as Instagram. Instagram is CRSTLD. And yeah, we're easy to get a hold of, and we're readily available to chat with anybody that has questions. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I'll also drop those contact information, your links, in the description of the video for anyone who wants to reach out. Thanks again, Crystal. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of Conversations with Diana. For not-for-profits and churches with staff on payroll who are interested in an exciting opportunity to get a grant to participate in the diversity and inclusion program mentioned in today's episode, you can send an email to info@dianamyrie.com using promo code CWD. That's promo code CWD for further details.
Thank you so much and for joining the show. Welcome. Thank you so much, Marcel. It was indeed a pleasure.